Hey folks, you've asked for it. We're doing a whole review series on cast iron and we're starting with butter pan. Y'all been asking about all kinds of cast iron and a review of such. So we're going to start out with one today and an unboxing of the Butter Pat cast iron skillet. We contacted the good people at Butter Pat and they were so gracious to send us the skillet and let us give our review, our honest opinion of their product. And that goes a long way for me when somebody will trust our judgment that they will send us this. And we're going to give you our initial thoughts and what we think about it the first time I see it out of the box. Without any further ado, let's get after it. So, you ready? Whoa, look here what we got.
Ooh. Ooh.
Whoa.
Okay, so
I'm
my
liking,
first impression
yes.
is pretty good because one, I mean, aside from the skillet itself, the packaging is really good. I mean, this is coming in.
Yeah.
You see that? This is like heavy
duty.
If I'm gonna be buying a nice cast iron skillet, I want it to come to me in one piece.
Yeah.
And that's probably some of the best packaging I've seen.
It is. You can tell that it is more like the old-fashioned stuff because it is lighter than what some of that other stuff is. The handle may just be a tad short for me, but I like that they've got something over here for you to hold on to.
There's a shorter handle.
Yeah. But one thing they have done, I think, on this shorter handle is it's grooved here. I mean, it's open, so maybe it might not get quite as hot as a regular conventional handle.
A little bit, yeah.
They may have that for the purpose. It is smooth surfaced on the bottom. You don't have to worry about a heat ring. That's something that people can be thinking about. Seen it, it's got this shine about it, and it is smooth.
I do like this feature where you've got a little lip. I mean, sometimes cast iron can get pretty heavy, and so I like to have a little stability there. I am kind of partial to the pour spouts. I think that's maybe just a personal preference, but I do like having it there. Like, I know some of them are designed to pour at any direction, but I like knowing, like, this is where you pour. This is where the gravy's coming from. This skillet is the Heather model, and it is the 8-inch. They also have the Heather is the 8-inch. They have the Joan, which is a 10-inch, and the Lily, which is a 12-inch.
I love their names.
I do like their
names.
Know, I wonder if they have like.
I have a cook stove named Bertha. It's made like the old-fashioned stuff, and that's what I like. But if you'll notice, it's got just a little more of a lip around here, around it.
If you guys can see, there is like an extra little surface there coming around. And this one is pre-seasoned, meaning the manufacturer has put on a pre-seasoning. This is pretty dang smooth. Yeah,
I mean, when you look at the stuff here, you see it's sort of got a gold finish to it. You know, it's not the solid old, like, say, like pewter gray that cast iron is when it's raw sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So you can tell it's had some finish on it. But one thing I'm saying when I say pre-seasoned, it's not rough as a cob. And this is a polished piece of iron that's been milled right. It's hand done. I like their design that is really smooth. It hadn't got a lot of stuff written on all over it.
What I like is it's simple. Go through about the little memo they included.
All right, let's hear it.
Your Butter Pat cookware will provide many, many years, generations actually, of pleasure and function, which is very true.
Cast iron is an investment, but it's going to give back to you every meal you cook out of it and just get better and better. It's got a 100-year guarantee.
Your pan is hand cast. Small pits and imperfections are inherently part of the hand casting process. Before you return your pan for these issues, please give it a try. We will still exchange for any reason. These marks are evidence of the way the pans were made. That's great. So they will replace it. This one,
you don't see nothing.
I don't see anything.
There's one little spot right in there.
I see some like just visual like pock marks, but you can't feel them, and that's just kind of where the seasoning takes. Our cookware is shipped with a hand-applied baked natural oil finish. Your first use should be cornbread, but that's just us. That's interesting. We don't suggest bacon or sausage on the first time use. These can be especially sticky. Okay, we've been through this before.
Yes,
you guys have
we
seen our other unboxing video. Guarantee you the first thing he's going to do is put bacon in it.
Yes, I am.
We'll talk about that later. The pre-seasoning we've applied in the shop may come off with initial and subsequent cooking. Don't be surprised if you even see the bare metal. This is to be expected. Our pans are virtually non-stick because they are so smooth, not because of some magical seasoning routine. Over time, they will take on a dark caramel black coffee color. characteristic of the finest historic cast iron pans of the late 1800s.
There you go.
Sometimes we get questions of people who have cleaned their cast iron and they're re-seasoning it, and they're frustrated because it doesn't have that black finish. You can still cook and use your cast iron without that dark finish. That builds up over time.
But it will eventually all turn the same color. Don't think because you get a few mottled mixed colors in here that something's going wrong.
Here. Cast iron should be cleaned when lightly warm. Wipe out the food and rinse with very hot water. Most of the time this is all it'll take. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes something will be sticky. Sugars and sugar cured meats can be sticky, so you'll have to scrape and scrub. That's true. Don't be afraid of damaging the seasoning. Remember, you're cooking on a smooth surface, not on seasoning. We use metal scrapers, but you might prefer a plastic one.
Well, that's one thing that I've never tried to do is use a metal scraper if you're cleaning.
Right.
I use a wood, soft side of a
spoon.
sponge, like that, something like that. It always works.
So, mild soap. Okay, there we said it.
What? What did you say? Soap?
We know it's one sacrilege, but we use soap. Yep, mild soap and one of those screen scrubbers.
I would rinse it out the first time. Soap, yes. To get anything out of here that might be, that gets a residue out of it.
After that, we don't use soap. Traditionally, soap was a lot harsher than it is today, and it would eat at your seasoning. You know, if it's just one of those personal preferences. Every time, dry the pan on the stove and recoat with oil.
Amen.
Good job,
They
Butter
preaching
Pat.
to the choir here, Butter Pat.
Once the pan is clean, towel dry it and put it back on the stove at medium heat. You're putting on the stove to evaporate all the water, rewarm the pan. Once it's dried out and it's warm, put a small amount of cooking oil in the pan and use a cloth to coat all surfaces, the bottom too. Once the oil has cooled, wipe off as much as you can.
Let's give them a high five, because there we go.
That is good. We do this every time we use a piece of cast iron.
Get a lot of questions on YouTube. Do you have to do this every time? Folks, when you get in to drive the car, don't you start it every time before you go somewhere?
They prefer low smoke point oils like safflower, sunflower, flaxseed, but lard, Crisco, canola also work just fine. We avoid high-fat oils that may go rancid like butter or olive oil. We don't use lard and Crisco because we feel like those become rancid over time. But the biggest thing is if you're using your cast iron regularly, you shouldn't have a problem with any seasoning that you
Unless
choose.
you're using Pennzoil.
Pennzoil's not
That's
so
the only thing. But how you store it, too, is going to make a big difference.
It does say that
Use it on
100% source and hand cast in the USA, and it's got a 100-year guarantee.
Yeah, like I said.
And it does say good on gas, induction, ceramic glass, electric, and live fire. Woo!
Yes, I like on live fire.
The cost for the 8-inch Heather is what?
$195. I hear you out there. Oh my God, that's high. They're the only company, except for Burl Furnace, that still makes their pans by hand. They don't mill the inside of their surfaces with a machine. It is hand done, smooth ladder. You get what you pay for.
So just kind of a recap on our initial impressions of the Butter Pat. I am very impressed.
Yeah.
My top highlights is it's got the smooth surface. I do like the little handle, or the opposite handle.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. It's a little short.
Yeah, it's a little wider than a conventional handle. It doesn't feel, what's the word? Ergonomic? Yeah, something like that. It doesn't feel as comfortable in my hand, but that could be because it's a little shorter too.
And I do like the pour spout.
Oh yeah.
I really like their instructions, so that's good.
I do love an unboxing, especially when it's got cast iron in it. And I read the little instruction deal about what you should cook in it first. But my ultimate test for cast iron has been the same the last 38 years. I want to see what that finish is like. I'm going to take it in there and put it on a burner, let it get hot, because if you do not let a skillet get hot before you put a piece of cold meat in there, what's it going to do? Try to bond. I don't care what surface it's got on there. I ain't going to spray it, I ain't going to oil it, I ain't going to do nothing. What am I going to put in it? A piece of hog meat. You heard me right, bacon. Bacon notoriously will stick to something that ain't seasoned well. That thing, give it up. It'll slide all over that skillet. So, fried her up we did, took it out. There's a few things in there, so what are we going to do? Get the little wooden spatula, see how easy this thing is to get cleaned up. A skillet that is not smooth or not seasoned well, you can't hardly clean them unless you take them over and get a Brillo pad after them. I want to scrape this out of there while that grease is hot. And did it clean up well? Shannon, inquiring minds want to know. It did. Wasn't no effort at all. What are we going to do next? We're going to put an egg in there. Sure, I could probably fry this egg and flip it right over, but what is the notorious test known to put in cast iron? It is a scrambled egg. Yes, I'm talking tear it all up, let it run all over that skillet. Scrambled egg will stick more than anything if it gets a chance. But I was amazed. Sure, there was a little stick in there because I had no oil, I had no seasoning built up the way I would like it. This thing turned loose pretty good. Sure, you had to scrape it just a tad. When they do this hand smoothing on this, you don't see the meal marks in there to where it's been polished down. Long ago, when I was buying the old Lodge stuff, before it was pre-seasoned, it looked like it had a swirl in it all the way around. The butter pat itself is, you don't see that. You don't feel it. Sure, there's other skillets I don't feel it in, but I can see it. And it's gonna be easier to create that slick, gloss, blacky finish. Is it gonna happen overnight? No, but it will with time. I'm gonna cook in it some more. I will give you a follow-up and tell you what happened. So we've been having some correspondence back and forth with Dennis from Butter Pat, and I want to read you a little something. He says, I just don't have time to give a pan a spa treatment. And he said he's old enough to remember his grandmother saying, "What's all the fuss about, grandbaby? It's just an old black pan." I really have to agree with old Dennis on that. Some people try to overthink and overcomplicate cast iron. It's really quite simple. You take care of it, you clean it, you cook out of it, repeat. Ain't nothing to it. So I want to thank Butter Pat again for sending us this skillet and let us give our review and opinion of what we think of their iron. Remember what I told you at the first? We are starting a series on cast iron. So be sure and tune in for the next video because we're going to be unboxing a Stargazer skillet. And after our Stargazer review, we're going to take all 4 major brands of cast iron made in the United States. We're going to compare and contrast, and you don't want to miss this one. God bless you each and every one, and I do love some iron.